I mean, it's a very difficult debate because not every instance is racism. Not every instance is, realistic data being used, which was subsequently thought as racism. You know, um, and that's something that I just want to avoid because I really, really dislike it when people say, he's just racist. He doesn't want me. It's like, no, it's the end of the line, right? So I'm going to tell you a bit of a story. So me and my African-American friends, we were at a theme park in Odaiba. And this, my friends, they could read Japanese, but they weren't so good at it and they never cared to learn. So whatever. But anyway, so there was a group about 3 or 4 women ahead of us, and the theme park said only 3 or 4 women, or three or 4 people, one party can enter every time because it'll bunch up and so on. And we were stopped, right? And I know there were 3 or 4 people who just went into the thing, and my friend, he goes, "Oh, that's racism. That's racism." I said, "No, it's not. It was." We're a different group. I've got me, my friend, his sister, a couple of other friends, right? So it's just rules. So
there were too many of you in your group.
There were too many. So then they had to split us, and then they were white and this and that really messed them up even more because not just that we were stopped with when he walked up, and he wears clothes that are very stereotypically African American, basketball, what are they called? Tank tops, with a number on them. And he looks really good in them, but whatever, and some nice shorts, really nice shoes, right? Really expensive shoes, but that doesn't matter to everybody, I guess. And he was angry about that too, and that's something I want to avoid is this misconceptualized racism and racism. That word is being thrown around so much to the point it's lost its meaning, and that's just what I want to avoid. So therefore, even though I agree with what, BLM has to say, I always take it with a grain of salt because there's always one single, it could be tiny, it could be big, one part that was misconceptualized,
Yeah, this is true. That's true.
Right.
But I think that's just the problem with racism as a Black person, any person of color, I mean, minorities, that you're always on red alert.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Yeah.
Because you have to protect yourself. Okay? So and sometimes perhaps it is a misconception. I remember I went to the doctors the other day with my husband, and I realized at that moment that doctors in Japan are just not very personable. I've got some really great doctors, but I mean, I always felt like, is the doctor not looking at me because I'm a foreigner? But that's just what doctors do in Japan. They're too busy typing stuff. They don't, whether you're a Japanese foreigner or not. But that's what it does. It puts you on a kind of red alert. And I know that you don't want to fall into this trap of thinking that everything is racism when it's not. But at the same time, you can't always be excusing it. And sooner or later you'll get to a point where you will be able to discern it, and if you can't, then you just dismiss it. That's all you can do, but you can't always say that maybe there's I agree with your Odaiba example. That was just the rules. I do agree with that. But that's kind of what it does. That's what racism does. It makes you very hypersensitive to how you're perceived by people. And when we're getting these messages again and again, that somehow we may be perceived negatively in Japan, people who've actually never even met us,
right?
Then you are going to always be on red alert.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I was on red alert when I was little. I was afraid of being perceived as this Black child, and remember that I don't have a father, right? So then there's more stigma there, and especially with many white Americans, it's just that stereotypical Black, leftover child, and that has always been plaguing me. And sometimes I think about that and say, oh, maybe And so then when I was little, I used to dress non-black, and non-black is a very wide term since fashion is not really with a race, in my opinion. But there are some cultures that are really heavy in specific ethnicities and races. So I remember trying to avoid. Sometimes I still subconsciously do it or unconsciously do it. It's just really strange. But to dress white or have hair that's very white. Now it's just growing weirdly, and I try to keep it nice and compact. But it's that thing where I was starting to feel afraid of having that black culture. But then that started to fade away because, again, I'm not saying that this is the 100% way, but it is for me, is always saying, but maybe it's not racism. Maybe it's just that they don't know. And even if, and I always trick myself, even if it is like totally racism, I say, oh no, he's just afraid to talk to me. Not because, oh, I'm black, he doesn't want to talk to me. Because if I victimize myself, I will always speak as the victim. And this is and I want to refrain from saying this too much, but it's a very important thing of this subject is I don't want to be victimized. I don't like victimizing things because I don't think things will progress that way. If I stay strong and say, so what's the problem that I'm black? You don't want to talk to me? Fine, your loss, right? By doing that, they're going to feel bad. Not, oh, I was, and then they'll feel good in a way, even though they say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. They feel a little superior. And I'm not, again, making them look like they're all racist, bad people who feel good about being, that's not my point. I'm just saying that, there's a sense of power because you've declined that person. But what if I take it in a way of saying, oh no, they just don't want to talk to me, then it's a neutral, that kind of thing. So hence that is why I say, and I argue in this point, saying that perhaps, even though it is quite, let's say 70-80% clear that it is racism, saying that there's a reason behind that, even if there isn't. And
see, the thing with me though is that I don't, this sounds really bad. Really
no problem. It's okay. Right.
I don't really care how the other person feels. I care how I feel. So, and I'm in control of my feelings. I look at it from that way. Is I'm not going to, I know that what you're doing is because, and it could be that I'm black or just that I'm different in Japan. People have this complete block sometimes about speaking English or speaking to foreigners. There's a lot of xenophobia, and it's not even really their fault. It's just the way that, the other is presented in the Japanese education system. So it's more about how it makes me feel. So I just tend to avoid putting myself in those situations. I have my friends who I want to talk to one-on-one. If people treat me as a normal human being, then I will treat them as a normal human being. But whether or not their intention was racist or not, it's how it makes me feel. So I can control that because those are my feelings. And that's what I want to teach to my kids, right? Is that you have control of your feelings, and sometimes people are going to treat you in a discriminatory manner, whether they mean to, whether it's their intention or not. But you don't have to take on that feeling. Maybe a victimization, or you just don't take it on. And if that person, treats you in that way, then that's not a person who you want to be part of your tribe.
Yeah.
So that's one of the best things that I've managed to come up with in all the years of living here, because of, meeting strangers on the street and in different situations. I just try not to meet people. No, that's not true. I do meet people, but I'm very choosy about who I let into my energetic space.
I see. Yeah, I understand.
Students, though, I think I'm in a really privileged position to shape young minds about just having more acceptance and of people who are different to them.
Yeah, I understand that. That's very interesting. I mean, let me think about it for a moment,